Hey, what is going on, you guys? It is Mr. No Sleep here from Old School RuneScape, and welcome to a brand new loot video for you all today. So today, at long last, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you loot from 100 Jad. Released into the game October 4th, 2005, and at a combat level of 702. This is truly one of the biggest and the baddest bosses in the game, and with a max hit of 97 is definitely one of the deadliest. And speaking of bosses, before we get into today's video, we do have some quick words from our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. So by now, I'm sure that most of you have heard of Raid, and that's most likely because of the fact that there's nearly 1,000 videos posted every week just on YouTube about Raid. Not to mention that over 25 million people have downloaded this game, with over 1 million active players playing it every single day. It's understandable that Raid Shadow Legends is taking over the RPG gaming industry. And in an age where artwork is more appreciated than ever, Raid's graphics are the top of the line. Whether it's the hundreds of champions that you can collect and personally customize, or bosses that you can defeat, every aspect of this game is as detailed as it can get. Now, if you're a new player, a lot of those videos that I mentioned on YouTube, they can help guide you to get started and progress on the game. If you're not into the video tutorial scene, you're more of a social person, then don't worry about those videos. You can join the Raid Discord with over 87,000 members, as well as having a huge presence on Facebook, YouTube, and even Twitch. So any question that you may have will be answered right away. Now, personally, what I like about Raid is that I can play it on my PC when I'm up all night, or during the day on my phone when I'm just laying in bed. The storylines, the detailed graphics, and the rewards always keep me interested, as well as everyone else, and it keeps us always coming back. I mean, ever since Raid has been introduced, it has just been growing, and it's definitely not going to be slowing down anytime soon. So the real question is, what are you waiting for? Go to the video description below, click on those special links, and if you are a new player, you will receive 100,000 silver plus one free champion, Jotun. Quite the epic barbarian. Also, all this treasure will be waiting for you here, and don't forget that the rewards will be only available for the next 30 days for new players. Good luck, and I will see you there. And as always, a big thank you to Raid for sponsoring today's video. Last month, the ad revenue on YouTube was cut about 70%, so it was much needed. To put that into perspective, one Raid ad is essentially 3 months worth of YouTube videos. That's how bad things are right now. So yeah, I really do appreciate you guys watching the ad. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into today's video. 100 Jad, starting at 42 KC and ending at 142 KC. Overall. This video was promised 3 weeks ago, and I was really looking forward to doing this for quite a while now. And the main reason for that is because of the Jad pet. Now, I did also live stream about 90% of this on Twitch, and no doubt about it, the most common question that I would be getting asked was, how can you make a loot video on Jad when you only get a fire cape? Well, the answer to that question is Toggle. Every single Jad kill that you do receive just about 8,000 Toggle. Might be pronounced Toggle, I'm not too sure. And as you can see, in the first 2 Jad kills in this video, I did receive 8,000 per completion. However, after that, I decided to complete the Elite Karamja Diaries for the very first time doing diaries during this loot series, and because of this, I was able to receive double the amount of Toggle, which meant at the very end of killing 100 Jad, instead of having 800,000 Toggle, we would have 1.6 million. And then having the diaries completed, we would use the Karamja gloves and start purchasing the most profitable obsidian item that we can find, and I think as of right now that would be the obsidian plate body. So in a sense, you can earn certain drops and you can get loot from killing Jad. You just gotta think outside the cave. Well, Jad cave, that is. So starting at 118.4 million range XP, we would be tracking the amount of all the XP we gain throughout this video, as well as the amount of supplies that we use start to finish. I will say Addy Darts was used for 95 out of 100 of these caves. Rune Darts was used for 2 of them, and Dragon Darts were used for the remaining 3. I like to keep it simple with the blowpipe. The scales already cost enough, so why spend more on darts when it really only has a few minute difference at this level as it goes for the completion of the fight cave time. I do recommend though that if you are a lower level, most people you only have to get a fire cape 1 time when you're first starting out, so Dragon Darts are certainly worth the money. Although they are very expensive, it will really help speed up your final rounds, or you can just use them the whole entire time. So alongside the blowpipe, I was rocking max range featuring the twisted bow for the first ever time with dragon arrows. Amethyst arrows are good too, but there's no sense in not using dragon for something like fight caves. And speaking of the twisted bow, here we go with wave 63. This is the final challenge where Jad and the healers do appear, and usually the twisted bow is known to out DPS the healers, but this was my first time using it, so I didn't really trust that that was actually possible, and I didn't really see too many people do it on stream before myself, so I decided to tag the healers. And I was also using a really laggy world at this time, so my prayer switches were a little off. And yeah, this is probably gotta be my worst Jad kill of the whole video, and luckily it was the first one, so first is the worst and the rest are the best. And unfortunately, we did not receive a pet on our very first kill. But yeah, this was the first KC. We definitely had a lot of room to improve, and as you can see, as we moved on to the second kill, those healers were all on Jad, and this twisted bow was so fast, so powerful, that we pretty much killed Jad without even having to touch a healer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why the twisted bow is worth 1.2 bill. Well, that and many other reasons. And prior to starting this video, I had about 355,000 Tokkul in my bank, and that was from all the Jad Slayer Task that I've done since this became a Slayer task. And I wanted to get rid of that Tokkul, and I wanted to track, you know, all the Tokkul from this video start to finish, so it was just easy to keep count of and not get anything confused. So I went to the rune store, which can be found in the city. If you do have a fire cape, you can access this area, and I spent all of the Tokkul on chaos runes, which was actually the dumbest thing that you can possibly do. I think I got a little confused because a long time ago I sold a lot of chaos runes to this store on my Iron Man account to receive Tokkul, and this was in order to obtain an onyx. So I guess I just had the wrong flashback and I thought that buying chaos runes was smart, but this was a lesson learned. And yeah, you're only gonna get like 6,700 chaos runes with 300,000 Tokkul, so definitely not worth it to buy chaos runes. This is kind of where I found out that there is items, there's armor pieces, weapons, multiple things that is sold in the city that can make you a lot more profit if you spend the Tokkul on that. And this is also the point of the video where I said, okay, let me just do these diaries. I've only ever had 2 requirements left in order to complete all the Karamja diaries, one of them being craft a nature rune, and the other one being make an anti-venom. I don't know why it took me so many years to do this. I've actually had these requirements since the day this diary came out, so it's kind of a facepalm moment for me for sure, but you know, we are learning. Even after all these years, we are still learning. And still progressing. So yeah, we were rewarded with an XP lamp and of course those lovely Karamja gloves 4. And let me just say that double Tokkul is just one of the benefits of having these gloves. I will touch on the other benefits later on in the video, but I will say that this is definitely one of the most worthwhile diaries to complete, especially if you plan on doing Jad tasks or if you're just going for the Jad pet in general. And there would also be times where I would forget to bring my dragon arrows, making that twisted bow absolutely useless. I think this happened 2 times out of 100, so I would just prioritize the blowpipe the whole time. Only downside of this is there is not a lot of range or distance compared to the twisted bow. But to be honest, even without the twisted bow, I think it was only like a 3-minute difference, so really not that big of a deal. So if you can't afford a twisted bow and you really want to do Jad, don't worry about it. I would say the majority of players in this game do stick to a blowpipe, even the Iron Men out there. Well, that's not true. I would say most Iron Men probably use Carol's crossbow or rune crossbow if they're trying to get that cape pretty early on. And if you ever want to log out during your fight caves, all you got to do is click the log out button even if you're in combat, and as soon as you kill all the monsters in that current wave, you are able to log out and nothing will respawn until you do, so it's really nice. Not too sure when they added that feature, but it's definitely worthwhile if you have to AFK or something. And I'm sure you've seen it by now, but now we are receiving 16,000 Tokkul after every single run, so you're going to see that stack up from the thousands to 100,000s to soon to be millions through the course of this video. So the inventory for me is pretty easy to follow with a setup like this. I was usually always bringing 3 range potions, 2 anglerfish, or 2 brews, and the rest of my inventory would be super restores with a rune pouch. Now this rune pouch inside of it contained blood barrage, so that anytime I did take damage and anytime my blowpipe special attack didn't heal me, I would rely on those blood barrages to pretty much give me my HP back on the lower level monsters that would stack up on each other. And that way, after every single wave, if I needed to do it, my HP would be full. And the Sang staff also helped with this. The only reason I didn't bring a Kodai wand was because I could not afford one. I had to sell half of my bank to buy this twisted bow. So the Sang staff was good enough just to get the job done. As well as the Imbued Heart, which also raises your magic level, which helps you with magic defense, and you can absorb magic attacks a little better than you could before you would use the Imbued Heart. Now this inventory and gear setup works well when you're maxed and you're experienced at Jad. Obviously your prior experience with prayer switching and maneuvering will determine how far you get in one way, but also how high your range, prayer, and defense level are in another way. Now you have to excuse my language on screen there, but this was actually one of the very first times that I died during the course of doing fight caves, and I was so confused onto what happened that I had to have my Twitch chat remind me that since I completed the Karamja Diaries, I was able to be brought back to life once a day at Jad in the fight caves. Whether you die on wave 1 or at wave 63, you are given another shot right then and there. And the reason I died, I think like 4 to 5 times throughout this video, and I was brought back to life every single time except once because I accidentally died twice in the same 24 hours. Well, most of the times when I would die, it would be because of the major that spawns on wave 31. Sometimes I would just lose my prayer points and I would be reading the chat and just not paying attention to the screen at all. And a big shout out to these guys. And I think it's pretty obvious, judging by the completion times in this video, that you guys know that I AFK'd most of the whole entire time, so the occasions that I would die really would just be my fault, lack of paying attention. But that's alright, because with the blessing of these fine gentlemen, as well as having the diaries and the genie on my side, I was okay for the most part. Now, if you can't afford Armadillo, I have seen people use Bless God D-Hide here for a cheaper, more effective prayer bonus, range gear. Also, Void was popular for many years before they nerfed it down a few notches, but Elite Void is probably okay due to the prayer bonus. But again, it all depends on your budget and your preference. The lowest level in RuneScape to ever actually achieve a fire cape was a level 3, so if he can do it, you can do it. It's just crazy to think about a level 3 taking on a level 702, but that amazing video will also be in the description below, so if you want to check it out, I highly recommend it. And what you just saw on screen there was me dying to the healers after I killed Jad, and luckily for me, the diaries saved my life even on that point, so I was rewarded the fire cape. I guess I died again shortly after, but it happens. Now, something that you won't see in this video is a single Jad Slayer task. All of this was done off task, and had I done this video all on task, then my odds of receiving the pet would have been 1 in 100 versus 1 in 200. After killing Jad every single time, I always had a slight chance of 1 in 200 to get the pet just by killing Jad, and the goal was, if we somehow didn't get the pet by the time we had 100 capes stacked up, then we would start sacrificing the capes one by one until we saw that baby Jad, which does happen to be one of my favorite pets of all time. Also, shout out to receiving 120 mil range XP. So for those who want to kill Jad on a Slayer task, you do have to pay 100 Slayer points to either Duradel, Neve, or Chaldar, and then they can assign you a possible Jad Slayer task. You'll also be given the choice to kill regular Tazar monsters instead, which I have done a loot video on, so if you're looking to see what they have to offer, that video will also be in the description below. But it's nice to have the choice to kill regular Tazar monsters or just kill Jad. And if you are on a Slayer task using a Slayer Helm imbued, which you can imbue from Nightmare Zone, you will get a damage bonus, pretty much a nice bonus compared to being off task, and you will be able to complete the caves much faster, on top of receiving 25,250 Slayer XP after the Jad kill and an overall 37k for the entire cave run. It is no doubt that Jad is one of the most popular Slayer tasks in the game, and if you do happen to leave the fight cave during your task, either manually or by dying, you will lose the task. So it's also a quick way to skip a Slayer task and lose absolutely no points for it. And this was an update in August 13th of 2015. Overall, the fight caves compared to something like the Inferno is very simple. You just have to take it slow, and if you're new at it, use the safe spots to your advantage. There's many different safe spots in the cave with different nicknames. One of them being the Italy Rock, one of them being the Dragon Rock. I think there's also one that's like a shoe or a horseshoe, something like that. Well, for me, I use the dragon looking rock all the way to the west when you enter the cave, and using this safe spot made the fight cave experience very laid back and relaxing by trapping all the monsters on the opposing side and safe spotting the ones that were coming right towards me, keeping my auto retaliate off the whole entire time, waiting for the monsters to get to me instead of me going to them, made for a much longer cave time and a lot more prayer points used, but definitely definitely, without a doubt, the easiest and most laid-back way to get a cave done. It's not efficient, but it's easy. And for me, the most annoying waves would be about 56 to 60, and that's when the Ranger, the Meleeer, and the Major are all on you for consecutive waves at a time. And using the safe spots do work, but unfortunately, since you're praying Mage constantly, the Ranger will start damaging you, and then at those later waves, you know, I would always try to kill the Ranger first and then run right back to my safe spot. That way, I would take the most minimal damage as possible, and it worked out pretty well, even though there was, you know, a few deaths that did occur. I don't blame the Twitch chat for the deaths, though. I simply blame the late night that was among us. You know, a lot of laughs brought a lot of deaths, and that's a fair trade. And I had actually gambled all of the 42 capes that I had prior to this video with all the tasks that I had completed while doing Slayer in the past, and never did I get a Jad pet from it. So I thought for sure that this video would ensure a Jad pet. I mean, so many different opportunities and only a 1 in 200 rate to get it. But we will see at the very end if we did get lucky enough. I know that a few new monsters have come into the game recently, but my next video is planned to be loot from 1000 Ceradome and God Wars, something that's been highly requested since day one, so you will see the Twisted Bow in action during that video as well. So you get a back-to-back experience with the Twisted Bow this month. And also, since we're talking about videos, I do have loot from 10,000 Flesh Crawlers completed almost. It was much faster than I thought, so you guys will see that in about 3 days from now. It was definitely worth the purchase for Jad as it goes for the Twisted Bow. Starting at wave 31, the bow is used every single wave until the last one. Because the fact is, although Jad is big and he is scary, he's only 250 HP. That's like hitting a 25 10 times or a 55 times. So if you don't have a Twisted Bow, definitely bring that blowpipe. It's a very fast, strong weapon, and with rigor as well as a range pot, archer ring imbued, if you can afford one, really makes for a fast kill. And although Jad does have 3 styles of attack, most people do keep their distance, so the only ones that you're going to have to worry about are the 2 being magic and range. And a trick that I've used since I was a kid is to keep Protect from Magic on the whole entire time. And once you see him stomp, once you see that foot hit the ground, switch to Protect from Range. And once that hit registers, just go right back to Protect from Magic. Now, I do this method because it's very easy for me to see when he stomps. It's just so noticeable compared to, you know, standing up in the air a few inches to throw a magic attack at me. Most times in the far past, when I did die here, it would always be because of a magic attack, not a range attack. Even though the magic level is 480, his range level is 960. So personally, it's just easier for me to stick to that method. But hey, everyone's different, and if you killed Jad based off of some other unique method that you came up with or that you saw someone else do, then that's all you need. Just something simple, something memorable and effective. You can also use the sounds in RuneScape, and there might also be a RuneLight plugin for Jad, although I can't confirm this since I had all my plugins turned off. To conclude though, Jad is truly the first stepping stone into getting into PvM or bossing in general. I know it's 2020, but killing Jad is still a credible accomplishment, and hopefully it's the start of a long bossing journey for you once you achieve that first fire cape. And to all the experienced mains out there who have killed this boss dozens of times, maybe even hundreds of times, well, I just got 3 words for you and for me. Inferno cape time. And if you already have an Inferno, then I don't know what to tell you. I guess go for some pets or something. Another popular question that I got during these Jad streams was, when is 100 Inferno? And I guess I'll have to get back to you guys on that one. But yes, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. 100 Jad has been completed, and right away, without hesitation, we are going to be gambling all of the capes. I really want to see this Jad pet. We were unlucky during the course of killing Jad 100 times, didn't receive a pet, unfortunately. So now we move on to plan B, and this is to trade in all the capes and to see that Jad appear. I know all of you guys want to see it appear just as much as I do, and I was meant to live stream this, but I really thought that if I live streamed it, it would get clipped and then put on a highlight channel, and since this video was delayed for a while, I didn't want it to be spoiled if I did or didn't receive the pet. So I hope you guys can understand that. I do plan on streaming some of 1000 Sarah, but not all of it, so we will see how that goes, duoing and soloing it. But as you can see here, you know, we've already ran through our very first inventory of trying to get this pet, and now we're nearing the completion of our second inventory. So just about halfway of the capes, 56 capes used so far and nothing achieved, but we still got 44 opportunities to receive it. And again, we could have been trading in these fire capes for 8,000 toggle. Not too sure if you would get 16,000 if you wore the diary gloves. I don't think so, but someone can correct me in the comments below. And yeah, we are slowly but surely wrapping up inventory number 3. And at this point, I was getting a little nervous. I was thinking, all right, 16 capes left. We already ran through a lot of kills and a lot of capes. I mean, there's definitely got to be some hope left here. And we continued to trade them in one at a time. I even put a Ring of Wealth imbued on before I started this just to have that extra assurance. We had the blessing from those fine gentlemen earlier. We had the genie appear. We had the diaries completed. I mean, what more could have we done in order to get this pet? I mean, I guess we could have been on Slayer Task, but I'll save that for a different video. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen, 1 fire cape left. This is truly going to be the most epic ending to any loot video I've ever done, if I get the pet. Cross your fingers, knock on wood, drop the twisted bow. Here we go, baby. And a moment of silence for the gamble. Absolutely unlucky. I gotta be honest with you guys, reading "You Not Lucky, Mr. No Sleep" 100 times in a row was almost as painful as killing Jad 100 times in a row. If you're curious how long this video took, just multiply 36 minutes times 100. That's how long it took to do. Really haven't been playing as much as I should in the past month, so this video could have been uploaded much sooner, but, was put on hold for more reasons than one. Yeah, not gonna lie, a little disappointed that we didn't get the Jad pet, but I guess it's karma, that's what I get for not streaming the gambles and taking forever with this video. So you know what, looks like next video, instead of 1,000 Sarah, we will be doing loot from 1,000 Jad. No, just kidding, that's never gonna happen. But anyway, moving on, we are now going to be spending 1.6 million toggle, whatever, on all the obsidian plate bodies that we can afford. We will be hopping worlds after every single purchase in this lovely Tazar city, and this is where the profit comes from. This is where the loot comes from in this video. I know it's not much, but it is something, and it's actually a lot more money than I thought it would be. So although we had to spend a lot of money on darts and scales and arrows, potions, and a little bit of blood spells, I'm hoping that the money that we make from these plate bodies can not only pay for all the supply costs, but also make us a little bit of profit. And the number one question, of course, would be how much were the cost of supplies? Well, we spent just about 15 mil in super stores, 3 mil in dragon arrows, 7 mil in scales, 2 mil in darts, and 1 mil in runes. Now, as it goes for the overall loot from 100 Jad, all the obsidian plate bodies that are currently 1.3 mil each, as well as that sword and a little bit of rings, comes out to be 18.5 mil. As it goes for the cost of supplies, unfortunately, that was all the way up to 28 mil, so we actually lost about 10 mil killing 100 Jad. There's always a cheaper alternative way to do things, and if I would have gone that route, I maybe could have made a little bit of profit. I still really don't know, because that seems like such a huge loss, but it really does cost a lot of money to use a blowpipe, and unfortunately all the potions that you need for Jad are very expensive these days. So I'd like to say at least we got the pet, but we didn't get the pet, so didn't make any money, didn't get the pet, but we got a lot of range XP. We had a lot of fun doing it, and until next time, I guess, Mr. No Sleep out.